Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So today I have a generic Democrat versus President Trump. I haven't done a couple of these predictions in a while. I think election nights are getting easier and easier to do. So I've been trying to get them out daily, if not once every other day. And overall, I haven't been doing a lot of prediction videos, and people have requested me to do generic Democrats versus President Trump. If you're wondering when my face reveal will be, it'll be over the weekend because today is Friday, and I'll try to record some footage on like Saturday and Sunday. I can't make that many promises because they're a lot harder to edit than election night videos. They take a lot more, really just work being put into them, especially since it's my first face reveal video. I want to make sure it looks right, and I'm going to make another video talking about it in just an hour or so. I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do in my face reveal video, and what I want you guys to do. So yeah, we'll just get right into this prediction, and you'll see it in my future video more about my face reveal. And we'll just get through this now. So the generic Democrat, simple states, West Coast, safe Democratic. Those Midwest, obviously going to the Republican nominee. It depends on the 2nd Congressional District out of the state of New Hampshire. Sorry, the state of Nebraska. I don't know why I mixed that up. But Nebraska, because I do think that one could become competitive depending on who the nominee is. Since we're talking about a generic Democrat, I think that the people that could make it competitive and win it, and the people that couldn't, I think it evens out to around a toss-up. In New Mexico, I think that one will be safe blue with a generic Democrat. Just speaking with that, with the generic Democrat being able to appeal to Latino voters, and the fact that Latino voters pretty much vote for every Democrat there. The only exception was George W. Bush. And Arizona, I think that one could be a toss-up. Depending on who the nominee is, if we're talking about a generic Democrat, a basic establishment Democrat, Arizona could become competitive. If it was a progressive, I don't think it could become that competitive unless it's a big name progressive. If it's someone who's never been heard before, someone who's not like Bernie Sanders or not like Elizabeth Warren, I don't think it could become competitive. In Nevada, I definitely think that one would be competitive. Alaska and Hawaii, Republican and Democratic respectively. The South could never become competitive unless you run a blue dog candidate, and there aren't that many, so I don't think that they even out the number of I don't think that they even out the South to make it toss-up. I think it'll be safe red for generic Democrats, but if it was a blue dog candidate, it could be toss-up. And then Illinois would be safe blue. Of course, the Northeast would be safe blue. Sorry. But, yeah, so the Northeast definitely safe blue regardless of who the nominee is, unless it's someone who's like a businessman, but that's not a generic Democrat. Vermont, safe blue. Minnesota, I'm going to give that one to the safe blue column because if we're talking about a generic Democrat, someone like Joe Biden, someone like Bernie Sanders, someone like Elizabeth Warren, a lot of these candidates could definitely beat President Trump, and a lot of them definitely could lose to President Trump. If Hillary Clinton lost to President Trump and Minnesota went for her, I think the number of Democrats that could win Minnesota outweigh the number of Democrats that would lose, and I don't think it would be considered a toss-up with a generic Democrat, along with the fact that many polls have come out with generic Democrats ahead of Donald Trump. By generic Democrats, I literally mean the name generic Democrat that are given in polls. They lead by 48 to 38. I think Opinion Savvy came out with a new poll where they have 52% of the vote nationwide. So I think the sentiment against President Trump is pretty high right now, just based off the way that Republicans in Congress have not been working with the president, and it looks like the administration is doing nothing. Iowa, that one's going to be tough. I'm going to leave it as a toss-up right now, but if it's a generic Democrat, usually I would leave that one red. But if it's like a vice president like Joe Biden, or if it's someone like Bernie Sanders, it could become competitive. Since we're talking about a generic Democrat, I'm just going to leave it. I'm actually going to change it and just leave it with President Trump because I don't think that every single Democrat could make it competitive, and I don't think every single Democrat would be able to win the state. So I'll just leave it in President Trump's column. The same thing with the state of Ohio. That one could only flip if you have a home state, if you have a senator from that state like Sherrod Brown, and even that one would be tough. But if it was like Joe Biden, who had an Obama appeal, yet also unified the Democratic Party, it could definitely flip to the Democratic side. But since we're talking about Democrats as a whole, with the generic Democrat name, I'm going to leave that one with the Trump column. Along with that, Georgia, I think, could become more competitive than Ohio and Iowa. I mean, Iowa voted for Trump more than Texas did, and Georgia did, and that's surprising. North Carolina definitely would be a toss-up. Virginia would be a toss-up. Florida would be a toss-up. For the state of Michigan, I'm going to leave that one in the Democratic column because I do think that his approval ratings are going to drop below 30% come Election Day. And the state of Michigan barely voted for him, and I don't think that they'll vote for him again. I think they're having voter regrets, according to a number of polls, even done in Republican areas, like this part of Michigan up here that's not connected to the rest of the state, should be solid Republican ground. They're not favoring the president that much. New Hampshire, I would also give that one to the Democratic side, just because of the fact that I do think President Trump would really lose a lot of those voters there. I think they would rerun the comments throughout the primary season, throughout the general election season against President Trump, just because he said that New Hampshire was a drug-infested den, and I think those words could come back to haunt him in the state of Maine. The 2nd Congressional District, I think that one would go to for... Actually, that one could be a toss-up. The reasoning behind it is if they nominate someone like Joe Biden, like I said before, he would easily win that district. But if we nominate someone like Elizabeth Warren, she would probably lose the state at large and that district. So overall, I think that the odds are really 50-50 depending on who is the nominee. So I'm going to leave that one as a toss-up. In the state of Pennsylvania, I think that one could also be a toss-up just because of the fact that President Trump narrowly won it in 2016. But his approval ratings are pretty low there, but it's not enough to indicate the state flipping as a whole, along with the state of Wisconsin. Both of these states have higher approval ratings than the state of Michigan, so I'm just going to leave these two as toss-ups. So overall, this is the final electoral map. I'm not going to fill in anything else, just because of the fact that I do think that the generic Democratic name will be able to tell us which states will be toss-ups in 2016. This is my prediction for the states that will be toss-ups. States like Iowa and Ohio were previously very close. I don't think they will be touched in 2020 unless it's someone like Joe Biden. Since we're talking about generic candidate, I think all of these states will be the ones that are considered toss-up states. As for the rest of the Democratic Party, I don't think they can appeal to any other states than the ones in yellow unless it's a different type of candidate, one that has never been elected before, or if it's a blue dog candidate. So overall, I think these would be the final swing states. And thank you guys for watching this video. Stay tuned later for what I want you guys to do in my face review video. It's going to be a mini Q&A and things like that. So I just want you guys to stay tuned for that video. Again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.